Leave?
Yes, we do. Yes, we do.
Okay, what do we have that's on consent? Do we know how far out Richard is on this one, Alex? By the way, we're all trying to get rid of plastic. This is my first moment going from my plastic water jug to a real jug. As we know, that plastic bottles is a terrible, environmental issue. And also, some people think it's a health issue, too. So if we can get to this, I'm not really there, but I'm starting on it today. Okay, thank you.
Okay.
We have on consent 4, 5, 6, 8, 9, and 9, and then they want to continue 10 to 12/3, December the 3rd. But I'm going to need a second to move it out, these issues. 4, 5, 6, 8, and 9. Are there people here for 4, 5, 6, 8, and 9? Raise your hand. You are. 4, 5, 6, 8, and 9. Okay, we'll get a sense of when my colleague will join. Greg Smith can't join because he has his own committee that's about to start too. We have Tracy back there, huh? What a pleasure. Okay, before Richard shows up, we are measure 10, item 10. Could we just mention what that is right now? So we're calling the meeting to order at this moment.
City engineer reports, findings, and statement of overriding considerations, mitigation monitoring program, and FEAR number 200-303-1001 relative to the Venice pumping plant dual main sewer. This item is continued from June 4, 2008.
Okay. And we do have a letter from Heal the Bay, which Roz would like you to read into the record. We got this already happening.
For the record, Rosalind Carter Phillips, CLA. Mr. Chairman, this letter is from Heal the Bay. It's dated November 19, 2008, and it was sent to you, Public Works Committee. And it reads as follows regarding Venice dual force main pumping plant project. Dear members of the Public Works Council Committee, on behalf of Heal the Bay, we would like to communicate to the committee the urgency of the proposed project to construct the new force main sewer from the Venice pumping plant to an existing coastal interceptor sewer junction structure on Vista Del Mar. The Venice pumping station is the City of Los Angeles' largest wastewater pump station, serving Malibu through the Pacific Palisades, Santa Monica, Venice, and Marina del Rey. However, it is served by one pressure force main that runs under the beach and the marina. This force main is over 50 years old and carries more than 30 million gallons a day of sewage. Since there is no way for this force main to be inspected or repaired, there is no way of knowing possible damage that may have occurred over the years. It is vital that this project proceeds as quickly as possible to prevent the possibility of a major environmental disaster. Construction of the new force main sewer will allow maintenance and repair of the old force main, as well as providing a backup in the case of an emergency. It is of utmost importance that construction begins immediately to prevent any long-term impacts to our coastal community. We urge you to move forward this project. Thank you for reviewing our comments. If you have any questions, please contact us at 310-451-1500. Sincerely, Kristen James, Director of Water Quality, Heal the Bay. Polly Barrowman, Water Quality Scientist, Heal the Bay. That concludes the contents of the letter, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much for that. we have a lot of cards on this issue. We have two of them actually for it, three with general comment, and then we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 against. And obviously, I would like us to be able to have this, and I'd like to have my colleague here for that. So do we have any sense of his timing at this point? He's still in closed session and budget? Yeah, I got out of that room, heard it all before in budget and finance, so I need to be in there. Okay. Well, can we just go forward with 4, 5, 6, 8, and 9, and have a public hearing right here now if I need it, or whatever I need to do?
If you would like to consider items 4, 5, 6, 8, and 9 as and send it forward as a communication.
If you send us a communication from the chair, they would need 10 votes of council to consider the matter. So it can go forward to council.
Yeah, but it's always a problem with the number 10.
Also, Mr. Chair, what we could do is we can say for now this consent, and when your colleague shows up, we can go back and retroactively approve those items.
Do that.
And then it would turn into a full-blown committee report.
Yeah. Okay. But item number 1, is there issues on that one?
No, we're recommending consent for 1 and 2.
Oh, I see.
Yes.
Okay. Is anybody for item 1 and 2 here that is against it? Do we have anybody here for 1 and 2 that are for it? Okay, what we'll do is read them into the record. I'll act on it, and when my colleague shows up, I'll ask him to support me on consent, so it comes out of the committee.
Very good.
Item number 1.
Item number 1, city engineer report relative to the vacation of R Street, portion of southerly side between McDonald Avenue and 133 feet westerly thereof, vacation E1401125.
This vacation was initiated by CD15, and BOE recommends approval of this report.
Okay, I will approve it from my end, and when my colleague comes in, I'll ask him to approve this on consent. That usually happens when there's nobody against something like this. It becomes rather ministerial and routine. So, all right, item number 2.
Item number 2, city engineer report relative to the vacation of the alley and future alley southerly of 6th Street and easterly of Bronson Avenue, vacation E1401113.
Okay,
This vacation was initiated by CD4, and BOE recommends the approval of this report.
okay. So we'll do that one as well, and I'll wait for my colleague to get the second on it, so it's approved by the committee. Now, what's item number 3? We have people on this one?
Yes.
Item number 3, continued from June 18, 2008, city engineer report and resolution relative to the closure of Treasure Trail between Pacific View Drive and 100 feet easterly thereof.
And they say the action to take is to receive and file, so we have a discussion on this? Or not?
No.
No.
No? Folks wanted to talk on it at all?
Yeah, and we're opposed to it.
Well, we're opposed to it, then they should be allowed. Come on up.
We
Did you
didn't know
fill
there
out
was a
cards?
card.
Yeah.
Oh, good, thank you.
Yeah, didn't know there was a card.
That's your Hal.
No, I'm Michael. Michael Mant.
Did you fill out one of these,
I did.
Michael?
Yeah. Filled out one.
What the hell is wrong? Speaking of that.
I got a Hal.
Oh, it's the big one.
One was in red pens, one was in black.
Your bill?
Nope.
No, this is Adam, item number 3. Here they are, right in front of me, so I'm the nut.
There we go.
Diana, right?
Yes.
Okay, and Michael.
Yes.
Okay, great. Go ahead, Diana.
Well, there's should be significant information on this already submitted from previous meetings, and basically, the builder of the 2 homes at the end of Treasure Trail wants to close off Treasure Trail pretty much at the start of our property and 100 feet from there. And myself and a number of neighbors oppose this for significant reasons. One, it would limit access to our adjacent neighbor's property, and I have a letter from him stating that, and would also
Limits access to our own driveway.
Yeah, I mean.
We can't
it
even get
runs
into our
parallels
property.
to Our house, technically our property line extends into Treasure Trail, so he would essentially be closing off our property. He wants to put it right in front of our carport, which could be a danger in that if cars are coming in and out, or if the gate's not opening properly, they'd be blocking our carport. It just, it's.
I mean, it's a
Treasure
public,
Trail.
Treasure Trail is a public street,
Street.
and he's trying to turn it into his own private driveway. Plus, our property line actually does extend onto that. I mean, we have no problem if he wants to put a gate right where his property starts, but don't put it on a public street that actually infringes upon how we will get into our own driveway.
And his justification for doing this was saying that the neighborhood was dangerous and there was reported theft and crime, and actually Tom Labange looked into police records and
There's no danger.
crime records, and
crime.
there were no records of any type of crime
We,
or theft.
we lived in the house right next door before he started building. We bought our house in April of 2004. The person who started building this house, he's never there. He would never know if there's crime or not. In fact, the only issues we ever have are with the people who are renting his houses.
Yeah.
So there's no crime, there's no problem with our neighborhood, and that's his justification, is to trying to make his houses safe.
And initially.
If anyone wanted it safe, it would be us. We live right there.
Initially, he passed out reports asking neighbors to agree to this, but when he initially asked for approval or consent, he wasn't completely honest and upright with what his intentions were. So I see you're looking through the document with a lot of neighbors' signatures. A lot of those neighbors are no longer
they're-
consent now that they see what he has built and what his intentions are.
Could I also read into the record a letter from my neighbor?
We had 4 minutes, we only did 2 of it.
Okay.
Oh,
This is
I-
a letter from my neighbor who couldn't be there, who lives in, our house is here, neighbor here, and then the other houses are in between us. Dear Councilman Rosendahl, as I am unable to attend today's meeting due to the demands of my business, I want to write you to reiterate my opposition to the closure of Treasure Trail. This closure will materially affect the access to and maintenance of my property at 6816 Pacific Drive, which is immediately adjacent to Treasure Trail. This street provides vehicular and pedestrian access to the side and rear of my property. Keeping Treasure Trail open would also help relieve the tight parking situation on Pacific View, as there is room for 2 or 3 cars to be parked there. I have owned my home adjacent to Treasure Trail since September 2004 and vehemently disagree with the petitioner's description of crime in the immediate vicinity. Over the past 4 years, I can recall only one brief period of auto break-ins, and these crimes occurred up and down Woodrow Wilson and Pacific View between Cahuenga and Mulholland, a large stretch of area. I know of no criminal activity specifically on Upper Treasure Trail during the period following the building of Dr. Carter's homes on Treasure Trail. Dr. Carter is the one who's petitioning this. And I believe that LAPD reports confirm this. Closing the street would effectively give city property to the petitioner, as it is likely the temporary closure will be extended to a permanent status once the precedent has been set. Additionally, the petition circulated by Dr. Carter contains the signatures of residents who live on the lower part of Treasure Trail, which is not even physically connected to the upper part of Treasure Trail where his properties are located. This closure would have absolutely no effect on those residents. It is my opinion that the petitioner has greatly distorted the facts in order to take possession of a city street to the detriment of myself, my neighbors, Diana and Michael Mant of 6800 Pacific View Drive, and the surrounding neighborhood. For all the reasons stated above, I ask you to deny the request of Dr. Carter to close Treasure Trail. Sincerely, David Samuels.
Okay, fine. And I must tell you that Mr. Labange agrees with you. So when we say receive and file, that means we will take no action. We will not close it.
Great.
End of issue.
Thank you.
Thank you both. for
Thank you.
coming.
Fantastic. Have a good day.
You too. That was
Mr. Chair, for the record, there will be a receive and file on item 3 then?
item number 3, receive and file. You're welcome. Thank you for coming. Item number 4.
Item 4, motion, Han Lavange, relative to staffing costs involved with the pilot street sweeping project underway in the Harbor Gateway community and the feasibility of extending the pilot street sweeping project to other unposted streets across the city.
Give us a thumbnail on this.
Mr. Chairman, Rosalind Carter Phillips, CLA. We do not have a report at this time. We will be working with Street Services and the CEO, and we could return it in 30 days. Also, I believe that Yes, we could return it in 30 days.
I'll bring you right before the recess.
Well, maybe after the recess. No, 30 days.
Okay, so what's our time frame on that? If we said 30 days?
That would
Today
be-
is the, what, 18th or 19th or something?
Today's the 19th.
We go into recess.
Just a sec, I'll give it to you.
When's our next meeting?
Next
before
month,
recess? We have
the-
any scheduled?
November, just a
December
sec.
3rd,
Be December 3rd.
but
Can you get
Yeah,
it by the
December 3rd. We'll try. We'll try.
So that's the story for item number 4. Continued until December 3rd, where we hope we'll have a report. It's a Ms. Hahn motion.
Okay, very good.
Okay. Number 5.
Item number 5, CAO report and Community Redevelopment Agency reports and resolution relative to a cooperation agreement between the CRA and the Bureau of Street Lighting to fund an amount not to exceed $200,000 for new decorative street lighting within the Pacific Corridor redevelopment project area. This item was considered by the Housing, Community, and Economic Development Committee on October 8, 2008, and they approved the recommendations as contained in the October 6, 2008 CAO report.
Any comments? Anybody here? Anybody in the city departments here want to talk about it? Please, come on up. Oh, great. Come on, tell us about it. Give us a little insight into what we're voting on.
We have replaced quite a bit of the street lights recently on 6th and 7th Street in downtown San Pedro with the decorative poles, and the poles on Pacific Avenue were set to be replaced anyway because of old age, I guess if you want to call it that. And so the CRA was very much in favor of changing them out to the decorative ones to match the other street light.
You know any idea how many street lights will be installed and how long it will take to complete this effort?
I do not know the exact amount.
Who would know that? Anybody in the room know that? Come on up. Introduce yourself for the record.
Janet Kwan with the Bureau of Street Lighting.
Great.
There'll be a total of 16 decorative streetlights installed with pedestrian attachments, and they all have the decorative arms and teardrop fixtures.
Great. And how long will it take to complete this?
Approximately 9 months.
9 months. Do you need a report back, or can we just let it sail and you'll do it?
Sure.
Okay. How about 9 months just to get a closeout on it?
Definitely.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Thank you. So moved, approved, and Mr. Alicant comes in. We'll ask him to second it. And give Ms. Hahn my regards. Next item.
Item number 6, motion Garcetti, Wesson, Reyes, Rosendahl, Hahn, relative to instructing the Bureau of Contract Administration with the assistance of the city attorney to report in connection with providing preferential consideration and bid processes for contractors that have apprenticeship programs. This item has also been referred to the Budget and Finance Committee.
Do we have any speaker cards on this?
No.
there's one.
I think we did. Somebody? Yeah. That's another number 10. We're getting a robust amount for number 10. It's a robust issue. It's got a lot of in it. It was meant to be a joke. Okay, does anybody, Bureau of Contract Administration, CD 13, either one want to say anything? Come on up.
Does he have a card? There was one card from this person.
Good afternoon, Councilmember John Reamer, Director, Bureau of Contract Administration. I'm joined with
Christopher Westhoff, Assistant City Attorney, Public Works General Counsel.
Gentlemen,
good to be here.
give us a quick story about what this is.
Real quick, the city family wants to have apprenticeship opportunities on our public works construction projects. It's a requirement now. State law mandates that whenever public monies are utilized, that contractors are to dedicate a certain percentage of the workforce to apprenticeship opportunities. So the motion as it reads to us suggests that we take a look and see, is there anything that we can do to make sure that this is taking place? Currently, we have a labor compliance program that they ensure that contractors that are working are utilizing apprentices on their projects. We monitor this through the receipt of certified payrolls that the contractor is obligated to provide us.
Do you have any sense of when this will be considered by the council? Move forward with this.
Well, no, and I do know that there's a speaker that wants to come and share that what they want to talk about may not be in line with totally what the motion reads. And so what would be best is give them an opportunity to speak, and we may have to meet with it a little later.
That sounds like a sensible idea. So do we have Bill Luddy in the room?
I just also need to raise, council member, that there is a legal question relative to whether or not we can provide for incentives or credits when we're the competitive bidding requirements of the state of California and the city of Los Angeles are that we award contracts to the lowest responsible bidder. Preferences that have been associated with public contract awards in the past have been declared unconstitutional and in violation of the low bidding requirements in other situations. There is only a single case that I am aware of, which goes back to the late 80s, and it was in essence a bid preference for local contractors, local firms, and it went to the federal court as part of a case entitled Association of General Contractors versus City and County of San Francisco. In that case, the federal court validated a local business preference for local firms because they were able to make the factual findings that doing business inside the City and County of San Francisco, in fact, was more expensive if you were domiciled inside the City and County of San Francisco than if you were domiciled outside. In this particular situation, there are already existing 2 situations where apprentices are required, and contract administration has a lot of statistical information that they can provide as to the requirement of apprentices to be on. And in addition, the project labor agreement, which now exists on a case-by-case basis, but which we believe will soon be on a citywide basis, also provides for that. And in each of those situations, it doesn't impact the competitive bidding landscape. And what we try to do in competitive bidding is put all contractors on an equal footing. And in order to make an award, if you take and give a preference to a defined group of contractors, you are unbalancing that footing. And I believe that raises some serious legal questions as to whether or not we could, in fact, defend a program like that. If you look at all of our other programs where we require contractors to do things, it applies to all contractors across the board. I personally defended the city's minority women and other business enterprise program all the way to the California Supreme Court at a time, quite frankly, when there wasn't anything being validated by the courts that could even reasonably be considered affirmative action. And we were able to do that by virtue of the way our program was structured and the fact that it was evenly applied across the board. We have other requirements of equal benefits and prevailing wage that are also applied across the board. Anytime you designate a segment of a bidding community to have a preference over other segments of the community, it raises red flags for the courts. And I believe that would cut against our requirements in our charter and in state law that require contracts to be awarded to the lowest responsible bidder, especially in light of that there are other ways of doing it that do not unlevel that playing field.
Okay, appreciate both your guys' comments. Mr. Luddy, state yourself for the record. Who are you?
Thank you, Council, Mr. Chairman. My name is Bill Luddy. I'm the Executive Director of the Carpenters Contractors Cooperation Committee. We represent both the members of the United Brotherhood of Carpenters and the Southwest Regional Council, approximately 65,000 members, and our signatory contractors. And I'm here to explain that the motion which Mr. Garcetti introduced and was pursuant to a conversation we had. However, directly responsive to Mr. Westhoff, we weren't raising the question of preferences. The city has been for decades pursuing opportunities to try and find ways to bring young people into the workforce, provide reasonable opportunities for good careers, everything from the living wage ordinance to other programs trying to do outreach. Years ago, one of the most successful programs we saw was the Century Freeway Pre-Apprentice program, which in response to an order provided an opportunity through pre-apprentice training to have community people enter into the building trades and start working at the Century Freeway and other public works projects. The opportunity for the city has been clear given the amount of work that the city does and other public agencies like LA Unified School District through public dollars, that as a vehicle for placing people into apprenticeship, there was a tremendous opportunity to create a steady work opportunity, a steady flow. What we asked for and what we had suggested, however, the motion was introduced before we had an opportunity to show this language, is not for a preference but for an amendment to the responsibility ordinance that would ask a contractor, not just the general, but the subcontractors who in fact perform the bulk of the work and who do the bulk of the hiring, to show evidence that they are in fact engaged with a bona fide state-approved apprenticeship training program. That being the case, then the job developers in the various training programs would have an opportunity to come in and start placing people and developing an entry-level opportunity and move them into a career within the workforce. That's what our program, frankly, we've been looking for a way to achieve this for more than 10 years, trying to find a way to get it as a regular part of the program. It was a response in the discussion of the Measure A effort that pointed out that there needs to be a practical application if you're going to make good on the commitment to find people work opportunities. And this type of language we think would do that. As to enforcement, they correctly, there is an excellent labor management group doing enforcement with Public Works. Our group, the Cooperation Committee, in fact, was commended by Public Works recently for the kind of work we've done in helping do enforcement. Certainly that structure is available to help validate the information that's being presented about the operation and the affiliation with trade programs. That's the intent that we wanted to do, is to find a way to ensure that the contractors who are coming to do work for the city recognize the city's commitment and had the ability to in fact provide the kind of training and career opportunities that the city spent so much time and effort trying to develop. And would very much like an opportunity to discuss this further.
Yeah, he wanted to talk to me before the meeting. I couldn't because we obviously went from council to here. He met a minute or two with Laura. And I'm just saying off the top of my head, it's the first time I'm hearing it, it seems compelling with what he's saying. Do we agree with that and would like to continue this item, have a meeting and see if we can flesh out something that is more appropriate for what he's suggesting?
Yes, I'd like to continue this item and have an opportunity to sit down and talk with Mr. Luddy.
And again, obviously that is a different animal than the one that is described in the matter that's before the committee. However, I think it raises other issues of privity of contract with subcontractors and issues that we would have to flesh out in that discussion. But obviously, we would need to sit down with all parties and figure out if there is a legal way to.
We live for the art of the possible.
Yeah, my hope is that it is. I'm a huge believer in apprenticeship programs, and obviously one of the major ways our city, as we spend more money on public works project than any other city in the nation, even in this downtime economic situation, we expect our new president of Hope and Change to have some stimulant money that will complement what we're doing here, and we're going to have a lot of things happening very positive over the next couple of years. And so wherever we can tie in an effective apprenticeship program that gives kids an opportunity, we just want to do whatever we need to do.
Commend it.
So let us just say that the conversation between Mr. Garcetti is an ongoing conversation right now. Get the three of you together. Is there a deputy in here from Mr. Garcetti's office? Well, we want to get the word back to him, Laura, that if his office wants to participate in this discussion, we would welcome that so that everybody can get on the same wavelength. And if we need to resubmit something to make it work, we will do that. Does that meet everybody's objectives here?
That's great.
Okay, so then let's continue this item. How much time do you all need to do all this and play it out? Am I hearing the holidays are going to get in the middle?
Quite possibly.
So we're looking at January something?
I would think realistically, I think that's.
You don't want to try and do it for a Christmas present?
I was going to say, Bill, what do you think? Do you think we could do it for a Christmas present?
We certainly think it's pretty straightforward. But
Gentlemen,
I'll leave it to
wanna give it a
I don't know
shot?
how much else he's got on
I don't
his
know.
plate.
It's December 3rd is pretty quick. That's right after Thanksgiving.
That's very quick.
Do we have another meeting before the end of the year?
The 17th.
December 17th?
Yes.
Yes.
Adam?
I think Jason.
May have it, but we went into recess.
Yeah, I think it's recent.
I think
But
it's
then,
gotta go.
okay, then our next meeting, we have January 7th
It'll be a
and
New Year's
January
gift?
23rd.
Sounds like.
Oh, wait a minute now. We are meeting on December 17th or not?
But that's your call.
When does recess start?
Oh, God.
And
The end of, this is Friday, hold on, just a sec.
I'm on the
sorry.
East Coast on the 17th.
Yes, it would be the
You're on the East
19th.
Coast.
right?
The 19th.
The 19th.
Well, Mr. Bill
December
wanted to
19th.
do it. You can't do it. You wouldn't be here anyhow.
December 19th.
Okay, so we're going to talk about a New Year's resolution then.
There you go.
Okay?
Yeah.
All right, and what was the meeting in January?
January 7th and January 21st.
Okay, so you can all take a deep breath and all that. We'll reschedule this for the 21st.
7th,
Very
21st.
great.
January.
January 20th.
Thank you very
And
much.
I hope by then you've worked through Eric's issues or anybody else's issues and we got something we can work with. If we have to do another motion through the council to clean it up, you'll let us know, right?
Yes.
Okay, great, thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. To be continued until January. We're moving right along here, folks. One-man band. It's number 6. Number 7.
Item number 7, Municipal Facilities Committee report relative to the Caltrans exchange agreement and claim for damages in connection with the Police Administration Building, AKA New Parker Center.
This is scheduled for a note and file. Do we want to get a report from somebody on this one? Nobody wants to say nothing. You want to do something? Good. I mean, I could read the briefing memo, but I'd rather you say something.
Thank you.
Introduce yourself for the record.
Paul Smith, CLA. Previously, the state of California and the city of Los Angeles entered into an exchange agreement swapping certain parcels of land, one of which was used to build the new DOT building, and the other is the police administration building. The state was also engaged in doing the demolition, excavation, and some of the shoring relative to the clearing the land for the new PAB. BOE had, in its normal reporting process, showed some costs that are associated for that demolition that the city had picked up. MSC asked that our offices and with the BOE look into this matter. We had a number of meetings with the state of California and its Department of General Services about what costs were associated with that. We both came away from that table saying neither one of us were going to put claims in for additional costs. We walked away from the table with an agreement that we would not do that, and we're just asking to note and file this report now.
That's good news.
Yeah.
Thank you for that. Mr. Alicon, welcome. For the record, we've gone through 7 items, which I would love to see if you would join me in approval of it. Item 1 and 2 were vacations. There were no issues with that. I got his vote on that. That's 2 of them down. There's a couple that were here. I think we'll be happy on that. Number 3, again, was a note and file where the councilman strongly believed with what the constituents were saying. Support on the note and file. So noted. 4, which was a motion relative to the extension of a pilot street sweeping. They're going to give us a report on December 4th. The report wasn't ready for today, so we've continued that item. Item number 5 is CD 15 to fund a new decorative street. They described how many lights they would get in and like your approval on that one.
Sure.
Motion number 6, we've approved this, but we're going to continue this until January 21st to see if we could work out the legal aspects of this with organized labor and with Mr. Garcetti's office. So we continue that item to the 21st. The next one is this note and file business, and we just discussed that as you were walking in, and there was no issues on that. Okay, great. We have a unanimous support here in the committee on items 1 through 7. Okay, now let's go to item 8. Thank you.
Item number 8, motion, Perry Gruel, relative to authorizing the placement of signs on city property within the boundaries of Temple Street, 12th Street, Main Street, and the Harbor Freeway celebrating Taxicab Appreciation Week which takes place December 8th through the 12th, 2008.
Okay, we do have two public comment cards on this. Why don't we ask you to let them come up, and maybe you could address whatever their issues may be. You're one of them. Great.
I'm Hal Bastian.
Hi, Hal. Yes, I can see that from Downtown Center Business. The other one is a Greg Fisher. Oh, we got a CD9 gentleman here. Okay, so let's just start with the CD9 rep first, and then we'll go right to you, Hal.
Good afternoon, council members. I know you've had a miserable day. It's been nice and long. This is a light item. We've been to the Board of Public Works. We have been 4-0 voted to approve this program, and actually like to see it expanded to a month so that we could put up public signs, a sample of which is before you, that will proclaim taxi cab service point to point downtown, so that if Council Member Alarcon got into a cab in front of City Hall and wanted to go to the Biltmore Hotel for lunch, he would not be immediately hijacked to the airport, which is...
Just make it clear, I don't normally do that.
You don't get lunch.
I don't normally go to the Biltmore for lunch.
Or for, any other place. It's just or the convention center, so that this would be a program where we would have circulating cabs for the month of December that would actually be able to take you around downtown for whatever service you needed.
Great. Hal,
Great. Thank you, council members. Hal Bastian, Senior Vice President and Director of Economic Development for the Downtown Center bid. And as the council members are aware, in the city of LA, the city council was kind enough to adopt a protocol over the summer that allows for cabs to be hailed, just like they are in every other city in the world, and to stop even in no stopping zones as long as they are actively picking up or discharging a fare. And right now what we're trying to do is do a public education program starting December 8th, whereby between the streets of Temple Street on the north to take in the cathedral and the court buildings, 12th Street on the south to take in the convention center, the 110 Freeway on the west, and Main Street on the east, where we would like to affix these temporary signs on poles as a public outreach mechanism to actually make them think about hailing a cab. Right now we're in a catch-22. I can't tell the public to go hail a cab, even though that we have the public policy to support it, unless there's a cab to be hailed, and currently they're not. They're still standing in line in front of hotels. And I can't get the cab drivers to spend petroleum driving around the city if they think someone's going to hail them. So I've been doing outreach to the cab drivers, and I've indicated, hey, if we can do the outreach to the public so that there'll actually be a demand, will you go out and drive? And their answer is yes. So that is what this program is designed to do, is a public education program. And we will, just so you'll know, we'll be affixing, if this is approved, we'll be affixing these signs with zip ties that won't harm, of course, the poles, the public property. And then hopefully this will get us going. This is like, think of this as a push start for the program to get people to actually start having a culture of hailing cabs in downtown.
Okay, appreciate both of your comments. And if we could just ask staff 2 questions, and I know Mr. Alarcon will have some. Who will be responsible for the materials and labor costs?
Business Improvement District. We will.
Has LA Live and the downtown bid been approached about underwriting these efforts?
Well, we are the Business Improvement District is underwriting it, and we're doing it in cooperation with AEG and LA Inc.
That's all my questions. Staff, do you want to add anything to what was just presented by our great
just Tom Drischler, Department of Transportation, just that we will coordinate with the industry and the drivers to make sure this effort is as successful as possible.
This has nothing to do with elephants at the zoo, right?
None.
We both want to get them out of this. Okay. The publicity of this is most important. The marketing of it. The holidays are coming up. Do we feel comfortable we have enough marketing in place?
Absolutely. We'll be able to do that. And that's part of the grassroots marketing here, and also through the internet, and a great network that we have with our business constituents, all the businesses in downtown, the residents, and office workers.
Great. Do you have a motion to approve this? So moved. Thank you so much.
Thank you, council members.
Okay, now number 9, City Street Banner Program. We saved the best for last, by the way, the biggest and most significant issue. That's
Item number 9, City Attorney Report and Ordinance relative to amending Subdivision 3 of Subsection B of Section 62.132 of the Los Angeles Municipal Code to broaden the definition of, quote, event, unquote, to allow charitable and nonprofit events which are held at a venue within 50 miles of the city limits to announce such events on the city's light poles through the City Street Banner Program.
Does the CLA or the city attorney want to comment on this?
Wait a minute. Within 50 miles of the city limits?
Within 50 miles of the city limits. What was on the motion?
Only if you have questions.
Well, yeah, well, what
Come on
kind
up.
of events
There
would
you go.
we be, what kind of events would we be announcing
50 miles.
outside the city limits?
Christopher Westhoff, Public Works General Counsel, City of Los Angeles. I believe this was a request by Council District 4 relative, and I believe their intent was to be able to have the Huntington Museum and museums and nonprofits outside the city that would attract residents of the City of Los Angeles to those events, to allow them to have the same rights to hang street banners announcing their nonprofit events the same way we do with events that are inside the city. It is the number. The number isn't arbitrary. The number is just a number that was.
Does the Bureau of Street Services anticipate an increase in fee revenue as a result of allowing events within 50 miles of the city to participate in the street banner program? We got an
Sure, if
answer to
anyone
that
is-
one? Does the Bureau of Street Services? Anybody here for that? Wyatt?
I'm not ready to support this.
I just, again, I drafted what was presented to me. It was a very simple change in the ordinance. The current ordinance only allows 501c3 and 501c6 inside the city.
I'm not clear about the cost that might be incurred.
There's no cost from the city standpoint because they will, as everyone else who now hangs banners, have to cover all the costs associated with the hanging of those banners. All this change does is give a 501c3 or 501c6 with an event outside the city within 50 miles the same right to apply to hang banners the same way that 501c3s and 501c6s inside the city have. That's literally the only change.
Is there anything that prohibits us from doing that on a case-by-case basis?
Yes, it's called the First Amendment.
I'm sorry, explain.
Okay,
We can't approve these on a case-by-case basis?
correct.
We either do them all or we do none.
Or you define some other objective standard so that there is no subjectivity in the selection.
Well, we should have standards because, I mean, if we're talking about something, an event, for example, that's going to be conducted in Beverly Hills with the city's cooperation, with the City of Los Angeles cooperation, then fine. But if we're talking about an event that's going to be in Ventura, to announce a pumpkin festival or something, and there's no real nexus between the city. I mean, we have plenty of events in our own city that we should advertise. So I'm really at a loss for why we're going to.
And I certainly understand the question, and quite honestly, those are questions that need to be put to the council office
So
because
a more correct response is we could do it if we state the specific standards.
well, again, there have to be objective standards, and the objective standards inside the City of Los Angeles are if you are a 501c3 or a 501c6, you have the ability to apply for and obtain permits to hang banners.
You know, lawyers are 501c3s. I mean, I don't.
It has to be a charitable or nonprofit event, and those are the limits that protect us from a First Amendment challenge relative to
But we could
content.
we could create other standards.
As long as those standards are objective and are not based on content or other issues that might be
For example,
objectionable.
There must be a nexus with something going on in the city. Why, otherwise, anybody could just put up a sign.
Well, not anybody. They have to be an incorporated 501c3.
It sounds like a billboard.
It's going to be the same banners that are hanging in the city today or are capable. If you are a 501c3 or a 501c6, you have the right, if the event is within the city limits, to apply for and receive a permit to hang banners. All that this amendment does is extend that privilege to nonprofit and charitable events that are within 50 miles of the City of Los Angeles, because that was the specific request that was made. It is my understanding that it was based on a request from the Huntington Museum, which is in Pasadena, to do that. That was my understanding.
I think we're opening the doors way too wide on this, and I can't support it based on the information.
Hey, let's do this. Mr. Alcorn, you can see the motion of August 14th in the back. It does say the Huntington Library, the Art Collection, Botanical Gardens, and others But what would be appropriate really is for us to continue this for 2 weeks and let the CLA come in, explain it thoroughly, and answer our questions.
Well, here's my concern. I'll be very blunt. There are a lot of nonprofit organizations who could advertise based on this standard that we couldn't prohibit once we open the door.
Well, the same standards inside the city apply outside the city, but you're correct. If it widens the number of organizations that could apply to hang street banners within the city of Los Angeles, which, quite honestly, as the person who drafted the original ordinance, is why it was limited to events within the city limits. But again, the council has the authority, if it wishes, to extend that right or that privilege to 501c3 and 501c6s outside the city of Los Angeles. Now, that distance could be 5 miles, 10 miles, 20 miles, or anything, whatever the council wishes under your legislative powers. In this particular instance, the way the motion was written, it was a 50-mile limit, which is why the 50-mile limit was written into this amendment to the ordinance.
They would have to pay a fee.
Correct. Same as internal. They would cover all the costs. It's not going to be an increased cost. It is potentially increased competition for events inside the city.
Honestly, I don't think there's sufficient analysis here for us to make a political decision. The legal issues are clear. The question is, what are the ramifications of this? And there's no analysis provided. So I would like to refer
I'm just fine with
who,
that.
who manages the Public Works?
Yeah, it's the Bureau of Street Services manages it. I unfortunately get to review every single banner request.
We direct the Bureau of Street Services to come back with a report and analysis on what the potential impacts of this kind of ordinance are.
So,
I think you need to hear from Council District 4 because
yeah,
it is
now this
their
was
motion.
dated August. Was there a time sensitive in his mind of a particular event?
Well, I don't know whether there were. I can tell you that I did get a number of calls from the council office encouraging me to move this up in the priorities. But as to whether or not there was a specific driver for that request, other than their desire to have this.
Okay, let's do this.
Ordinance
Let's get
amended.
Mr. Alarcon, and I agree with him, and we'll continue this item to January
21st.
21st.
2012.
Yeah. Then Tom,
I'll be retired by then.
The elephant will get noticed.
And any time after April of 2010 would certainly be
Yeah,
acceptable
listen,
to me. I
get that. Retire over there. All right. Here's the deal. We're going to do it on the 21st of January. We would like the CLA to stick its nose in this as well as Street Services, answer the questions that we just raised here. And if Mr. Alarcon has any more questions, I'm sure he'll get it to us, and we'll include that in it. We'd like a good report back on the 21st of January.
I was the scrivener in this particular instance.
We appreciate it. Thank you, sir. Okay. All right, folks, we're down to the big one, which I got to tell you, Mr. Alarcon, has got a lot of politics in it, and there's a lot of play in this. And so what we want to do with this is discuss, and we will continue this item as well. We will not resolve it today. It's a lot to be put into the record, and it's a lot of politics that's going to come with this as time goes on. And I'll just give you one little overview hit. We got an old sewer pipe that's running along the beach that brings in this sewer from Malibu through Santa Monica, through the 11th district that includes parts of Culver City and then Marina Del Rey. And all of that goes into the sewer system, and the sewer is old. There's been worrying for 10, 15 years that we need to do something about it. And there have been 3 suggested routes in different ways within the mix of things. And it's been vetted. In fact, there's one gentleman here who's been at it for 10 years, and he'd like to see it move forward. My concern is that we're going to have a ruptured pipe one of these days, and we're going to have literally something that begins with an S all over the place. And I don't think people are going to like that too much. So we have to start focusing on it, and the decision was to make this phase 1 and have another meeting and then take it from there to the next level. So if we could have this explained out, Adam, and then the initial discussion put in front of us. I do have a bunch of cards. It would be the pleasure, frankly, of the if those for and against want to speak first, or would you like to hear the presentation? My instincts are you should hear the presentation so you can understand what we're saying and hearing here, and then be able to respond to that in your public comment. Do I report on that one, Mr. Alcon?
Sure.
Okay. All right, let's go for the dog and pony show, whoever's coming up to do it. Introduce yourself for the records, and I say to those for and against, and those who are general comments, take notes. There might be something new you're going to hear.
Good afternoon, Adel Haj Khalil, Assistant Director with the Bureau of Sanitation. It's great to be here. As you know, the Bureau of Sanitation is responsible for the overall management and conveyance and treatment of our wastewater. 450 million gallons a day is safely conveyed and treated every day. We are committed to the protection of public health and the environment, and one of it is renewing our old and aging infrastructure. One of our critical components of this infrastructure is the Venice pumping station in the Venice area, which is an area that collects wastewater or sewage, as the councilman mentioned, all the way from Malibu to the Venice area, and also from the county, also from the Marina del Rey area, is also served by this pump station. The sewage is pumped through a force main, which is a pressure pipe that's 60 years old, that runs in the beach, under Banana Creek, under Marina, all the way to the Hyperion treatment plant. The sewer force main is aging and is of a concern to us in the Bureau of Sanitation and in the Department of Public Works. We believe that any rupture in that pipe will have a huge impact. We are unable to stop sewage from flowing if this force main breaks. There's no way out, so that will be a huge concern. This is the highest priority capital project in our wastewater capital improvement program. So we urge that we need to move this one quickly to continue what we do, which is protect the public health and the environment. With that, I will turn it over to my colleague Jim Doty to present the EIR and the effort that went through the EIR process and specifics about the project.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair and Councilmember Alarcon. My name is Jim Doty. I'm Environmental Supervisor with Department of Public Works Bureau of Engineering. We had this matter before your committee in June, and you continued the matter and asked us to go back and do a little more public outreach and make sure that the public is aware of what's going on and have an opportunity to provide input. Again, this is beginning to get a little repetitive, but let me race through the background of this project with these slides here. The City of Los Angeles operates a sewer system that serves not only the residents of the City of Los Angeles, but also adjacent communities, including Marina del Rey. The area that we're particularly concerned with today is the Coastal Interceptor Sewer area, which is shown in this map. The colored area is the area that's tributary to the Coastal Interceptor Sewer, and in particular we're concerned about this area circled here, which is the tributary area north of Viona Creek. All of that area drains to the Venice pumping plant located right there. From the Venice pumping plant, the wastewater is pumped through a single existing force main which lies under Dockweiler Beach to Playa del Rey, where it then flows by gravity to the Hyperion treatment plant, where water is recovered, energy is recovered, and the wastewater is safely treated. So why do we need a dual force main? Well, this is a critical link in the system. The plant carries approximately 15% of the total flow to Hyperion treatment plant. The force main was built in 1958, and it cannot be shut down for inspection or maintenance. Also, we think we really ought to cure the problem by having two sewers instead of just replacing the existing sewer, so that we have redundancy. And the problem with the current force main is that it can carry only 60% of the pumping plant's peak capacity. So on those few occasions when the plant is peaking during wet weather, we have come dangerously close to spilling brown water. So what we looked at is we need to get from the Venice pumping plant here down to this point here, and we looked at the various ways to get there. We held a public scoping meeting in May of 2005. That was noticed in the LA Times. We sent out approximately 3,500 pieces of mail to stakeholders, including government officials, businesses, and community-based organizations, and residents in the area. And we posted information on our city website and held the public meeting. What came out of that public meeting was that the EIR would address basically 3 alternative alignments. This one here is along where the existing sewer is. Then this blue line under Pacific Avenue down to there, and lastly along Via Marina along there. We published a draft EIR in February of 2006. Notification of that was in the Argonaut and the LA Times. We sent out a notice of availability to approximately 7,100 stakeholders, and the draft EIR was placed in local libraries, and information was posted on the city website. We also made presentations to various stakeholder groups, including the County Beach Commission, Marina Peninsula Neighborhood Association, Westchester Vitalization Corporation, and the Marina Affairs Committee of the Westchester LAX Marina Del Rey Chamber of Commerce. There were a couple of other organizations we offered briefings to, but they did not elect to get briefed. And of course, then we held the official EIR public hearing. So the results of our environmental analysis are as shown here in Pacific Avenue. The advantages are it's the shortest of the 3 routes. It uses existing city rights-of-way and avoids beach issues where there's a lease turn colony and there are beach erosion issues. The cons are that it would have major transportation parking impacts, and it's very difficult to locate a pit for the channel crossing at the southern end, well, the north side of the Marina entrance channel, where Pacific Avenue meets the entrance channel.
From this perspective, this is just a non-starter. Or no?
Well, it would be difficult. I like to think that the Bureau of Engineering can accomplish great deeds, but we'd rather not do it the difficult way if we have a choice.
But the only thing attractive from my end right now is the shortest route.
That is correct.
But the impact would be significant.
We think so.
Because that is a major artery in the beach.
Yes, and it's a very narrow street. Okay, so we looked at the beach. Obviously, if we go down the beach, it's minimal impacts to traffic and parking utilities. However, we would be passing right by a lease turn colony. There would be impacts to recreational use of the beach. We'd be on state right-of-way, and they have their issues. And co-locating the sewer, the new sewer right next to the old sewer, does not seem advisable from a long-term Public Works Administration standpoint.
Why?
That means that one disaster could take out both sewers, rather than being able to shift from one alignment to another.
When you say state right-of-way, is that the Coastal Commission?
State Lands Commission.
What is the Coastal Commission's role in this?
Coastal, any of these 3 alignments would require a permit from the California Coastal Commission. However, the Coastal Commission has very severe concerns over construction on the sandy beaches.
One of the goals of the project is to provide redundancy, and having the 2 at the same location would defeat that purpose. We cannot live with this force main offline. It'll be a disaster. So having them next to each other is not a doable option.
So where did you propose?
Number 3.
We're getting it to. We'll get there. And last of all, we have consulted with a coastal engineering expert firm, and they are concerned that the combination of the gradual erosion of sand away from Dockweiler Beach, which is artificially wide at this point because we took the sand out of the Marina Del Rey construction and the leveling of the Hyperion treatment plant site, and we put it on the beach. But every year, a little bit of that sand heads down the coast and down a submarine canyon. There are no major sources of sand available to repeat that. and we're confronted with sea level rise. Those two factors caused our consultant firm to recommend we not go on the beach. Okay, the third alignment then we looked at is Via Marina. The advantage of Via Marina, and again this would be just approximately half of the alignment, not the entire sewer, is that it's a wide roadway and there's enough room at the south end of Via Marina to build to have a construction site to push across the channel. It also, of course, avoids the lee stern colony and beach erosion issues. The cons are it's a little more expensive. It's in the county, and the county has their concerns. And there is an aggressive development program proposed for Marina Del Rey, and we would have to coordinate with those construction projects.
What about the cost? Who would pick up the tabs for all this anyhow?
The cost of this project comes out of the Sewer Construction and Maintenance Fund, and that is paid by the users of the system, including the people who live in Marina Del Rey, Venice, all along the coast, citywide.
I'm still not seeing where you're addressing the redundancy issue.
You want to show the map?
Okay. That is the beach alignment. It also is where the existing sewer lies. If we put the new sewer along there, we lose the advantage of redundancy because they're co-located.
I understand that. I'm asking how are you going to address the redundancy issue? What are you recommending in terms of a dual line?
Yeah, it'll be a second line that's built, and our recommendation to have it as far away as from the existing line. So it will be away from and create a distance between the two.
So you don't have a recommendation?
We are getting to it. We are getting to it.
Go
okay.
back to the third option, the one with the three options on it. Okay, when you say the county right of way, does that mean the county has the ability to stop it or not?
That's a good Chris Westhoff question.
Good afternoon, council members. Chris Westhoff, Public Works General Counsel, City of Los Angeles. The short answer to your question is no. From a purely legal standpoint, there is existing case law, including a case involving the City of Los Angeles back in the 1950s. We have the right to build sewers within the public right-of-way, regardless of whose jurisdiction it is under, whether it's city, county, Beverly Hills, Culver City. We have sewers going under Culver City. We have sewers in Burbank and also Glendale, for that matter. So we have the right to put it into the public right-of-way. Obviously, there are issues relative to we have to follow proper procedure, which is, in this case, going through the CEQA analysis and to ultimately have the city council hear all of the facts and then make its legislative determination as to which is the best way to go. But on a purely, if the EIR is certified and is unchallengeable, there is no other legal basis upon which the county could prevent us from constructing this project. We have been challenged based on CEQA in a sewer that we planned called GBIS, which is the Glendale Burbank Interceptor Sewer, which is currently in litigation, but it does not involve the right of the city to do it. It's whether or not the EIR was adequately analyzed.
I think the question was whether or not we had the legal right to do it. The question was, can the county stop us?
They can't stop us. They can sue us, but they can't stop us.
But even if they use some CEQA standard?
Ultimately, all CEQA does is require that the decision maker have all of the facts in front of it and make an intelligent decision, and all the reasonable alternatives have been looked at. Once a court determines that that's been done, there's no other legal basis upon which another municipality could prevent us from entering the public right away.
Another jurisdiction, the county, cannot make an argument that we did not consider all the reasonable alternatives.
No, they can always challenge us under CEQA. That's done on a regular basis, whether it be from citizens or other. So they can sue us.
Chris, you always give us the legal gobbledygook, but you're not dealing in reality. The fact is, they could slow down this project. They could cause a lot of issues and roadblocks.
Correct.
Before us. So one of the considerations we have to make is what's the fastest way, what's the easiest way, and what's the best way. Even if we discern this is the best way, it may not be strategically the best way to go.
But every other alternative, we could also be sued under CEQA. Whatever your decision you make is always challengeable as to whether or not the EIR was adequate in providing you with the information you need to make the decision. Mm-hmm. And I believe that the county is in no better position or no worse position than other people who might challenge any of the other alignments to challenge the CEQA question. Your ultimate decision is not challengeable once you make that decision, as long as the information upon which you make that decision is adequate. So, you know, if we get sued by the county, we're going to be in as good a position as if we got sued by the Coastal Commission or anyone else on any of the other two alignments.
Okay, but he makes a very good point, my colleague does on that. Appreciate that. Now what we would like to do, is that enough of a presentation, or is there more?
There's a little bit more.
Please, finish.
Okay. It is because our concern that we want to give all of the alternatives fair and adequate treatment that the final EIR does not have a preferred alternative stated in it. It has these alternatives we've looked at and they're compared. Okay, so we published the final EIR. It was mailed up.
When you say preferred alternative, are you talking about the redundancy issue? You want a second route?
Redundancy is one of the project goals. Yes. But we do not have a preferred alternative identified in the EIR. If you'd let me just...
When you say preferred alternative, are you talking about...
Perhaps if I continue just a little bit further, your question would be answered.
I'm dying with anticipation.
Okay, I'm good. I've built the suspense here, and we'll just break the commercial, and when we come back...
See, this guy's been punch drunk on this for 10 years or something.
Okay, so we distributed the final EIR to responsible and trustee agencies. Everyone who's on record is commenting on the project, on the draft EIR. The final EIR was placed in the local libraries and posted on the city's website. Here's where we get to the final answer. Okay, so city staff got together and we looked at the findings in the EIR and considered other non-environmental issues like the potential for being held up for too long, just not being able to get a permit for this, that, or the other thing, issues of can we really find a place to build a construction shaft at the south end of Pacific Avenue, things like that. And our recommendation is to microtunnel along the Via Marina route. That means that we would have construction areas spotted along Via Marina, but not continuously. We would be able to keep half of the roadway open at all times. We've looked at the capacity of the roadway versus the traffic demand for that roadway, and there would be sufficient capacity left to handle the traffic, and that is our recommendation. And that's what we brought to the committee in June, and we're asked to do additional outreach. So this is the additional outreach we have done. We have had briefings with the county supervisor's office, Department of Beaching and Harbors, Department of Public Works, and Department of Regional Planning. We made a presentation at the Marina Del Rey Design Control Board. There was an article in the Argonaut. We briefed leaders of the Marina Del Rey Lessees Association and a presentation to the Marina Del Rey Lessees Association full group. And we sent out a fact sheet to everyone on our records as having an opinion about this project, plus mailing lists provided by Los Angeles County that involved all of the lessees of county Marina Del Rey property and the people on the agenda mailing lists for the Small Craft Harbors Commission and the Design Control Board. And last week we made a presentation to Los Angeles County Small Craft Harbors Commission. And that brings us to where we are.
Jim, can you go back, put the map on? Let me address the councilman's question on the specific issue, if it's okay. The map with the alignments.
Yeah. I'm going to go all the way back. But it'll go up there. There we go. You want the pointer?
The existing force main runs from the pumping plant, it comes down and goes in the beach right here and goes to Hyperion. there's 3 alignments that we're looking at. So we're building a second force main. So that's the redundancy. The concern we have is which one is more reliable than the other. So there's 3 are being recommended. We have another one which is running next to the old one. So we'll have 2 of them in the same area. One that runs in Pacific, which is a city street that's narrow, and if you do construction there, you're going to have a huge access and concern, public safety and access concern. The recommended by staff is the Via Marina that runs in this street, which is in the county, and basically we can maintain traffic on both sides. So we're recommending that this becomes the redundant pipe. All of them are redundant to the old one, but this one is the most reliable redundant pipe because it's furthest away from the ocean and the existing one. Because if this fails, we don't want one next to it to fail at the same time. And the further away, it's better because of all the high, the rising water level concerns and all the issues with tsunami or whatever. We need to be as far from the existing as possible to provide that reliability that we're looking for. Hopefully I answered that question. Okay, got it.
Very good. Now, we have 6 in favor and 7 against. The 7 against are more or less, except for one, citizens who live in the neighborhood. And the 6 in favor are organizations that have relationships with the waterfront. Now, I have the Santa Monica Bay Restoration Commission, and I have 2 people, one for the proposal and one against. Am I right about that?
No, actually, I made a mistake on the first card.
So, Joel, are you for the proposal?
Yes.
Okay, just want to make sure I got this right here then. Okay, I'd like to ask, if I could, those against to come up first and explain why they're against it. And let's just ask you to come up, and there's some general comments too. Okay, the against, we got Nancy Vernon Marino, we have Daniel H. Gottlieb, we have Lynn Shapiro, and then I just want to mention the others, and you can come up as time permits. David O. Levine, Charlotte Miyamoto, okay, and John Cape. Okay, so when you see a seat open, next one, come up, introduce yourself, and go forward with it.
Okay, good afternoon, gentlemen. My name is Nancy Vernon Marino, and I'm here on behalf of We Are Marina Del Rey. First, I would like to clarify the record. Maybe I wasn't clear. We are not against having a redundant main. We are only against adopting this particular FEIR. So maybe my card needs to be changed. But we learned about this project. Residents of Marina Del Rey in the immediate impact zone learned of this project only this year, in late June or early July. The public comment period had closed in March of 2007. So we did not have an opportunity, we did not have a reasonable opportunity to weigh in on the project and on to bring the issues of concern to the decision-making process. So what we are asking for is we are asking for this FEIR to be reopened at least to the DEIR process and preferably to the NOP stage to allow the concerns of the residents of the Via Marina area and the mole roads that are reliant upon Via Marina as their sole means of access to have the same opportunity as residents in other areas of the Marina Peninsula, Venice, and Westchester Playa del Rey to participate in the planning decision. We do not believe that they had adequate information on the Via Marina project, the project alternative. So we have been actually making that request since June or July, and we have not had a specific response to that request. Our comments, of course, have been welcomed. They have offered to make a presentation to our group, but that wasn't the point of our group's request. Our point is that the residents in that entire area did not have the same opportunity as the other residents to participate in the decision. And so where did the project go? It went into our area.
Would it help if that opportunity was given to you, bring the whole group together and do it?
we would like the residents of that area to be noticed in the same way that the other neighborhoods were, and to have an opportunity to gain standing within the EIR process.
Do we have any problem with that as a strategy to give them that opportunity, or is there a problem with that?
The problem we have is the developing of that mailing list.
You have to go to the table and get it on the table.
And your name for the record.
Jim Doty with the Bureau of Engineering again. We mostly just have mechanical problems. As I mentioned before, we sent out large mailings that included that area, but because of the...
What are we talking about?
We're talking about the residents along Via Marina, most of whom are county residents. Actually, to the...
What would you say?
Oh, there are 800 probably or more in the city area, and there are huge apartment complexes along all of the mole roads. There's Mariners Village, which is that triangular piece at the very bottom, and then the next 3 mole roads, as you can see. All of those are lined with apartment buildings. I don't know the number of residents. There are approximately 8,500 residents of the unincorporated area. Some of them live in the to the east of the main channel, but most of them are in this particular area.
Are there homeowners associations? Or
No, Marina Del Rey is all public land, and so it's all rentals. I'm sorry, except for the city club. Oh, I'm sorry.
People in buildings.
I'm sorry, can you?
I'm just saying that the larger number you gave, can it be shrunk down to some leadership team that would go back to individuals and give them that full?
Well, if the apartment building managements were cooperative, and I think most of them would be, they could post notices in the apartments. That might be an alternative way of noticing the residents, rather than doing a separate mailing, which would be expensive. Certainly our organization would do our utmost to publicize that to that area, and get everybody's awareness raised of any renewed opportunity.
Is that a possible task or what?
That's possible. Our problem is producing a mailing that a way that we, our Marina Del Rey, can verify that we did the mailing, because we have done 2 previous mailings and they say that we didn't, or no, they say they didn't get the mailing. So we need to work out a way in which we provide a notice that is adequate to their purpose. My second concern is that, in fact, they are here speaking at the table right now, and the record is open. The EIR has not been certified. This is meaningful input.
Okay, appreciate both, but I would like the 2 of you to meet on the side afterward.
Oh, okay. I just wanted to say that they've already made their staff recommendation, and that's what we're objecting to, is they have come up with a recommendation.
And we're continuing it. We're not going to make any votes.
Oh, okay. So it is a possibility then that this report would then have a different recommendation?
Yeah, we have no idea. We're
Do you
hearing
have
for
any
the first
recommendation?
Yes, actually, we, along with the Marina Peninsula Neighbors Association, would support the beach alternative. They would be independent pipes. This existing pipe has been quite secure for about 50 years now, including during the major dredging of the channel. So we don't see where the acute danger to a pipe being located in the same area. We do, however, see...
It only takes one time.
Well, that's true, but the drastic situations that they present as being the danger would also probably pretty much destroy almost all of the marina. So
We're not sure we could get the permits from the coastal commission, right?
Except that you'd have to
get...
get...
Of the 3 alternatives, I think we'd have to say with 100% reliability, the coastal commission would least like it on the beach.
The most difficult. But anyhow, we don't have that discussion now.
Okay, we would like to bring these bits of information to you, and also clarify the record that you're going to have to get those permits from the Coastal Commission anyway. Gotcha. to repair and restore the existing pipe. So we would like to point out that there would be tremendous efficiencies going forward.
Great. Thank you, Nancy. And do get with it.
So will we be able to get a reopening of the EIR process?
We're not doing anything here today but gathering information on the issue. We're not making any decisions.
Oh, okay.
This is
But that's, I
public
guess, why I
input
said I
time.
wasn't against it, why I was asking for a
sure.
specific reopening of the DEIR. Can we, is that something you can
Wherever we are in
decide?
this process, we're in this process, okay? This is part of the public outreach part of the process. He will get with you so that more notice can be given, more opportunity for you to express your point of view will be on the record.
Okay.
Before we take any action. Thank you,
Okay,
Nancy.
thank you.
Okay, sir.
My name's Daniel Gottlieb. I'm a professor of mathematics, and I live in the city near Marina del Rey.
Yes, sir.
On Via Dolce. I looked at section 1.7 just recently, and a friend of mine said he was amazed to see that the table in 1.7, which is related projects, was way out of date. But unfortunately, I'm not amazed. But this is about the worst out of date I've seen. I've looked at projects on the Coastal Commission level and various other levels. And I must say that one of the requirements for EIRs is that the public should understand what's going on. I mean, we actually won a court case with that coming out. And if the list of projects aren't described, we can't reproduce calculations about amounts of air pollution and all kinds of things coming from traffic, etc. So I have a few points. Otherwise, there's a beautiful tree on Via Dolce, which would be killed, according to the county or the city, which would be killed by this crossing the Grand Canal. It's on an island. It's actually the front piece of the Silver Strand. So this gorgeous tree is reported in the EIR to be irreparable scenic loss.
Can I just ask staff?
Yes?
Do you concur with that?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
Okay, I just wanted to get staff to concur. And they say
That tree is in danger?
Yes, sir. Any of the alternatives are going to create
Okay.
visual impact.
But I don't think that badly. And then, with respect to the tsunami, which is supposed to come up on the shore and wipe out these pipe and gouge out 30 feet of land, it's going to do damage on the other side of the marina where the apartments will be, and nobody's talked about that.
So
And
you
finally,
like the beach alternative too?
I'm sorry, what?
You like the beach alternative too?
I'm sorry, I
Do you
didn't.
like the beach alternative?
What option do you like?
Oh, yes, I like the beach alternative the best.
Thank you. Appreciate that very much, sir.
Okay.
Ma'am.
Good afternoon. May I have the photo board for the gentleman, please?
Can we have your name for the record, please?
Lynn Shapiro.
Okay, Lynn.
Councilman Rosendahl, my councilman. Would
Very
you
good.
mind giving it to them? I'd like them to be able to see it
Very good,
firsthand.
Lynn. You're up.
And Councilman Alarcon. I reside in Los Angeles City at Marina Strand Colony 4, the Via Dolce Homeowners Association. There are 4 associations on the south side of Via Marina. These photographs illustrate the proximity of the Venice Dual Main Forces construction sites to all of our buildings, which are within 12 feet of the proposed tunneling, and even less at the corners of Tahiti Way, Bora Bora, and Via Dolce, where entry holes will be drilled for 5 and 6 months, according to Mr. Zaidi. The workday is 6 to 9, and even 6 to 6 on Saturdays. The EIR cites seismic, liquefaction, dewatering settlement, and vibration concerns within 1 to 200 feet of these buildings. These photographs prove that the distance of our homes is far less. To mitigate these geological concerns, and that's Geology 2 and 3 of the EIR, the city will depend on compaction grouting, watertight excavation support systems to ensure against subsidence. Please hear that word, subsidence. We are very concerned about it. Therefore, the integrity of our homes will depend on workmanship, accurate inspections, and the integrity of both equipment and performance. All of this is a geological gamble, and we who live within LA City and at this dangerous proximity to your project were not even noticed. That is, we weren't. We weren't. We received nothing. Nothing.
Is that true? It's not true, he's saying. Would you answer the lady's comment? She's very upset.
We did not get any mailings in any of our buildings.
This is precisely why we don't rely only on mailing for public notification. It was certainly our intent to notify you by mail. We certainly sent out a great deal of mail. But if you did not receive it, we hope you kept yourself aware by reading local newspapers or being informed by your neighbors or community groups. That
No one knew. No one in these buildings knew. We were excluded from the original discussions with the public in 2003. We learned about Mr. Doty's presentation to the DCB thanks to the Argonaut, our local paper, in July of 2008, 5 years later. The department that oversees this project does not even know or care how many residents are living in close proximity, or that most of them are senior citizens who do not leave their homes all day long. In my building, a survey shows that 71% are at home or work at home most of the day. Some 2,000 residents live on both sides of the street. Why should I be telling you this? Where there are center medians with old-growth trees and little possibility of maintaining a sane traffic pattern. In light of the failure to notice us, and I mean that in two ways, and the risk to our buildings, we request that you reopen the EIR, and hold meetings with expert geologists in our neighborhood. And please include experts from Hyperion, which should probably have its capacity expanded before this sewer is built. A bit more. The excuse for not building a new sewer on the beach is the birds. This can be remedied. In addition, any inconvenienced birds can fly away. We residents cannot. We cannot afford to leave our homes for months, let alone forever. We love the birds, but they don't pay property taxes. If it is necessary to place concrete blocks by a beach sewer to prevent erosion, let us remember that these can be functional. Picnic tables, backrests. The beach is no longer pristine. There are ugly public bathrooms and lease-turn internment camps. A new sewer in proximity of the old successful one will still permit inspection and repair of the old one. It is not necessary to risk all these. I'm going to wait, because I want you to hear my.
To know about the birds.
I want you to hear.
I didn't even know what that was.
I want you to hear my last sentence. It is not necessary to risk all these homes and the health and safety of the residents when another feasible route exists.
Okay, here's what we're going to do. I appreciate your comments.
I like the notice.
Yeah. He's very interested in the birds too. I want you to get with him and let's do more outreach in your area.
But
Okay?
which you prefer the beach route?
I prefer the beach route.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, but do get
with expert testimony for us to hear.
Yeah. Okay, we'll get him and you together, and you're going to use your energy in a dynamo to get everybody together.
But I don't. Are you? Here's the thing.
Go ahead.
This is a political question. It's not an issue of technical expertise. The department has three alternatives. Each one of them has risk factors, and when I say it's a political decision, the question is, which risks do you want to bear?
In our homes.
If I can finish, please.
Yes.
I didn't interrupt you too much. And so the question is really, which risks do the community want? And if you don't think there's going to be a tsunami, me from the San Fernando Valley is likely to agree with you. But it's not, I don't know that we want to burden this project with expertise. When we have expertise, it's just a question of which risks you want to bear.
At Department of Small Craft Harbor Commission last week, we asked for expertise because we were only getting general statements. We'd like to hear about a tsunami, but we'd also like to hear about the danger to our buildings from subsidence. the soil has to be deliquefied. In that process, subsidence can take place. We're talking about 30 and 40-year-old buildings.
But that's only if you pick the route of the
That's right, and we are afraid that that route will be picked because the
But if you
department
don't pick that
prefers
route,
it.
You don't have an issue with that.
But the department prefers it.
Okay.
And that's why we're
I
here.
appreciate your energy,
I'm-
too.
I'm-
Get
Okay.
with him, and let's do a broader outreach, okay?
Will do.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Come on up, Charlotte, from the LA County Department of Beaches and Harbor. David Levine, come on up, and John Cape. Okay, so we'll start with the LA County Department of Beaches and Harbors.
Good afternoon, council members. My name is Charlotte Miyamoto, and I work for the LA County Department of Beaches and Harbors. As you probably know by now, that our Board of Supervisors approved a motion yesterday to oppose the Via Marina alignment, which is the preferred alignment mentioned in the draft EIR. The other thing that the Board of Supervisors asked us to do, are in their motion, they directed staff to go ahead and prepare a letter to the city.
Was it unanimous?
You know, I wasn't able to get that answer.
Yes.
If it was unanimous.
All five?
All five.
Okay.
The board also directed staff to prepare the letter, and that's the letter that we delivered to your offices earlier today. And if you'll indulge me in that, I'd like to do it for the benefit of the members of the public that are here. I'd like to read the letter.
Yeah, read it.
Okay. I'll read it fast. Recently, staff of the City of LA Department of Public Works made a presentation to the LA County Small Craft Harbor Commission regarding Venice Pumping Plant Dual Force Main Project. During this presentation, the county became aware that the Public Works Committee of the City Council would consider the project's final EIR at its Wednesday meeting today. Accordingly, at today's meeting of the LA County, and this was written yesterday, so accordingly, at today's meeting of the LA County Board of Supervisors, the board voted to oppose the city staff's preferred Via Marina alignment and directed the Chief Executive Office to transmit a letter expressing its opposition to your committee in advance of your November 19, 2008 meeting. During recent outreach efforts to the Marina Del Rey community by the Bureau of Engineering of the city's Department of Public Works, Marina stakeholders voiced the opinion that they were not adequately informed in a timely manner about the project and did not therefore have the opportunity to provide meaningful public comment on the EIR before the public comment period closed. Additionally, we believe conflicting information has been presented to both county representatives and Marina stakeholders by the Bureau with respect to other feasible alternatives. The adequacy and consistency of the city's communication is particularly troublesome given that the Bureau's preferred alignment is along Via Marina, a major perimeter road of the unincorporated Marina Del Rey community, rather than the two other alignments within the city's boundaries. The county is very concerned about the project's proposed negative impacts on the marina, its residents, and infrastructure. The following is a summary of the county's specific concerns. Marina redevelopment projects. Given that the dual force main is scheduled for construction precisely when it is anticipated that several marina development projects will break ground, there is serious concern about the impact of the project on these marina projects, which are important to the county's continued redevelopment of the marina. These projects include the Holiday Harbor Marina, the Esprit 2 Apartments, Legacy Neptune Apartments, the Woodfin Hotel, and the Del Rey Shores Apartments. A map showing the location of these projects, including information on each project's status, was attached to the letter. There's a people impacts. It appears that the project alternatives which are within the City of Los Angeles will impact inconvenience a far lesser number of Los Angeles City residents than the number of marina residents, restaurant patrons, hotel guests, and business owners who will be negatively impacted and inconvenienced by the city's preferred alignment along Via Marina. The third bullet, long-standing county concerns with Via Marina alignment. The county has registered concerns with the Bureau's preferred Via Marina alignment at least twice in 2005 and 2006, proposing instead that the city focus on the Pacific Avenue alignment within the city's boundaries. Copies of the letters are attached to this letter. Nevertheless, the Bureau has continued moving forward with the Via Marina alignment, notwithstanding the county's expressed concerns. As noted above, on motion of Supervisor Don Canavi at today's LA County Board of Supervisors meeting, the board voted to oppose the Via Marina alignment for the Venice project. And by this letter, your committee is officially notified of the Board of Supervisors' opposition. Moreover, the Board of Supervisors respectfully requests that your committee order the public comment period on the final EIR be reopened and extended to permit Marina residents and other stakeholders the opportunity to provide meaningful input to the EIR document. The additional time would also allow the city and county representatives the opportunity to meet and make an effort to reach consensus on a mutually acceptable solution regarding the project's alignment. We respectfully request and thank you in advance for your consideration of the county's position during your consideration of the project's final EIR.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that. Don Canavi and I have spoken. We spoke before the action was taken by the Board of Supervisors. We are joined at the hip. We love our areas, and it would be my hope that whatever route ends up being the route, we're all together on.
Thank you very much.
And I appreciate you.
I do actually have information on the number of residents that would be impacted, and those are the starting from Panay Way, which is the street just above Marquesas, where the pits are proposed. And that's nearly 4,000 apartment units. So many, of course, are not occupied by single people. So 3,836 units to be exact. On top of that, there are 2,369 boat slips. So there's people driving to go to their boats, not to mention the restaurants and other businesses that are there.
Appreciate everything you've said.
Okay.
Sarah.
My name is David Levine. I'm president of the Marina Del Rey Lessees Association. And I work for lessee Jerry B. Epstein, who is the leaseholder for Del Rey Shores, as well as Marina Harbor Apartments in Anchorage, both of which are along the Via Marina corridor. But I'm here on behalf of the Marina Del Rey Lessees Association. We are obviously concerned about the city's preference to make a dogleg, if you will, to the east and cross the Venice Canal, cross the Silver Strand Peninsula and come into the unincorporated part of the county of Los Angeles, which is Marina Del Rey, to go down via Marina. We are anxious to express the views of our residents, as you've just heard, about 4,000 apartment units, which would probably have about over 6,000 residents that will be impacted by this route. Just generally speaking, we don't buy the fact that all of the redundancy would be lost by going along the beach route. If you build a second and more better built pipe, it doesn't necessarily mean that the same event would take out both. And again, as you've already heard testimony about, there is concern about this entire area in the event of a catastrophic weather-related event. So I don't quite buy the argument that you lose all of the redundancy.
Can I ask you?
Yes, sure.
I mean, what would be their motivation to select something that they do not truly believe is the best alternative?
Because I believe that if you look at the draft EIR as it's presently constituted, it would appear, frankly, as if the California Coastal Commission staff submitted a letter and was more involved, if you will, in this process up until the last few months than people from the county and otherwise.
That the experts who put this document together would be afraid to suggest that the beach route is the best route because they're afraid of the Coastal Commission?
Well, I wouldn't use the same word afraid, but they've already suggested to you in their testimony here this morning, as they have in meetings with us, that they are concerned about the Coastal Commission's opposition to the beach.
I have to run, and we're not going to vote on it.
No, but the one thing, just for the record and for your awareness, that we have Tracy Escos from the Regional Water Quality Group. We have the Santa Monica Bay Restoration Association. We have the Santa Monica Bay Keepers. We have some significant people on the other side of this issue that are
Oh,
going
I-
to go for the record.
And I received their letters as well. But let me just say, because I do have to go. We're not going to
understand.
vote on anything substantively. We're going to have this matter back.
I understand.
I don't believe that the department has any particular interest. I don't think they're protecting any particular interest other than just saying what they believe to be the priority. But suggesting three alternatives, if we made a decision that were contrary to their preference, I don't think they care. I mean, my view is that they present the alternatives, they present their their recommendation for what they believe to be the best and safest route. But they recognize there's a political reality that makes the decisions. But if there were an event, and we decided the beach route were the way to go, and those dual lines blew up, and you had a lot of things to deal with that you'd never want to deal with, then at least they have stated their case, and nobody can come chasing after them for doing an inadequate job, because I guarantee you would be if they recommended that as the primary alternative. So I really don't think they have an axe to grind. I don't think they have
No,
an
I
interest to
haven't
protect.
implied
I really
that.
think they're making their best shot. But I'm going to follow the lead of the council member because I do see this as a political decision about how much risk you want to bear. And if there's an alternative other than the department's recommendation, we recognize the risks that are involved. But I think it's fair for them. I have, by the way, department, I don't have a problem with going back to the public to fully inform them to protect you in the way that I just described, so that if we do choose a different alternative than your top recommendation, you will be protected against that same community that's going to come back and say, why did you do this? At least you can say, we didn't recommend it. By that time, we'll be term limited out.
Our goal, our goal, frankly, is to get a sewer pipe done.
Exactly. Everybody wants
because
that.
it's a critical issue. But I will say that those who will speak in favor of moving forward with the potential route here are the people who have a relationship to the beach in major ways. And so they're going to express their point of view, similar with the intensity of their experience and their professionalism with as much vigor as people who live in the other route do. So we just,
I'm not
for the record,
suggesting
want to
that
do that.
we picked an alternative, or
No,
I have
no, but I just want to make
he has
sure
made
for
a
the record
decision,
we
but
know that there's going to be
I'm just saying
another
that if we
articulation.
Did, it's politically driven, not
I understand.
as much as it is.
And we're the ones who have to deal with the political realities.
Yeah.
Okay, you're on.
Excuse me, if I could just, I see I have 22 seconds left, and there were one or two other points that I wanted to make, so if you don't mind. Thank you very much, Council Member. And number one, I also wanted to point out that it's our understanding that the county does have to issue permits in order for this project to go forward. So it does seem to me that the process might be a little bit more complicated from a ministerial point of view than counsel for the city agency said to you. Also want to point out the fact that this construction goes through a county parking lot, and it does not just exclusively go through right-of-way. So the council's point about the fact that you can go anywhere in right-of-way may be true, but a good portion of this construction actually does not go through county right-of-way. It goes through a county parking lot, which is not in Via Marina itself. So I just want to point out that it's a little bit more complicated. And I'd end on a plea, which is what we've been saying to people for the last couple of months, which the Lessees Association point of view is that the county and the city need to engage in more serious conversations generally about these alternatives, and we look forward to the county and city doing just as you've described in your conversation with Supervisor Kanabe.
Appreciate that.
Thank
you
you.
for your comments, David. John, you're up.
Okay, great. Nice to meet you.
Same here.
Mr. Rosno. Finally, I get to meet you in person. And I'm a resident of City of LA.
Great.
Right off of Via Marina. And I wanted to argue against some of the points made by Mr. Jim Dowdy. I met him last, some of the points he made earlier, and which I find to have a strong bias against this beach alternative, especially the cut and cover approach. The first concern that he mentioned was a beach erosion along Dockweiler Beach. And you can easily see right here that due to the jetty that we have there, we don't have beach erosion. We have actually accretion over here, as you can see. And every year it gets accreted more and more so. So
What's accreted mean?
Oh, accreted is the opposite of erosion.
I see.
Okay, so you can see how this goes. That because of the currents, more and more sand gets added, and that's what's happening. So there is no erosion going on. The second argument used against the beach alternative was a tsunami, a tsunami weather event. And I gotta tell you, I guess we have all seen those pictures, the video of the tsunami in Indonesia, and we see the water going out. When the water came back in, when the tsunami wave came in, what it did was it didn't really scour the beach. It came in, took everything out, and I will tell you first, before it takes out that pipe that would be buried 10, 20 feet underneath the beach, it's going to take out the Venice pumping plant that's above the surface. So let's be, okay, so
Thanks.
I have one more final thing to say.
Go ahead.
I just, I think it's obvious to me and that the beach approach would require less permitting. I mean, there's already a 20-foot easement there. It's going to be much easier to build. And we'll have less delays, less dealing with utilities, which there are none over there. So I just think that considering the Via Marina approach and really using these dubious arguments against the beach, I hope I've made my point there. And so I thank you for the opportunity.
Okay, appreciate it all very much. Apologize for everybody who's been waiting so long also on this issue in the back of the room. If I could ask Tracy to come on up, and obviously the State of California, Los Angeles Regional Water Quality Control Board, Joel Hanson, Santa Monica Bay Restoration Commission, Tom Ford, Santa Monica Bay Keepers. Then we have some general comments as well.
Good afternoon,
Yes.
Chair Rosendahl. Thank you for having me. My name is Tracy Goskew. I'm the Executive Officer of the Los Angeles Regional Water Quality Control Board. I also represent the United States EPA today. I spoke personally with Ken Greenberg, who's the head of their enforcement for the Clean Water Act. And I have two messages for you today and your council members that are absent. The first one is that we don't have any more time to wait, and I actually am expressing my disappointment that you're continuing this item. A catastrophic spill at this situational with the beach is something that EPA and Ken Greenberg's word would be standing ready to issue you a stipulated order in the $330 million range to clean it up. So we're not talking insignificant liability on behalf of the city here. It's a very old pipe. It's a matter of time. You have your experts from the Bureau of Sanitation that have testified to this extent, and it's in the EIR. And the second issue is we're not going to comment from on behalf of the state or the federal government regarding the placement of the two different streets, but what we will tell you is that it should not be on the beach. And the primary reason for that is, should you have catastrophic failure, you are not going to have any containment in this area. It's going to go directly out into the beach. If it was on a surface street, you have the opportunity to contain it. And I understand the residents' worries, but as we've seen with the Manhattan Beach sewage spill, which was a County of Sanitation issue, we had tanker trucks lined up ready to pump and take it to the plant. You're going to have a situation that is beyond what we saw in Manhattan Beach. You're going to have miles of trucks lined up. You need to have this done. You need to have it done yesterday. I've got 10 minutes to spare. I thank you again for your time. I'm done.
Well, let me just ask you this. Does the state government or the federal government have any ability to veto in any way, shape, or form the beach route, which seems to be, just off the top here, the political route, if there is such a thing as a political route, assuming the county would vigorously protest, which the 5-member Board of Supervisors voted as they did yesterday. Do you have the ability within the mandate of the finding and the mandate of the professionalism you bring to bring that into the discussion and help shape the final decision?
Well, being here today and having both EPA giving me the clearance and on behalf of my regional board and expressing my interest in it not being on the beach, it's not the ideal place to construct it. But the State Lands Commission, the Coastal Commission, I believe, have weighed in, expressed their opposition. We would step aside for them to weigh in on it in terms of the permitting procedure. But right now, in your public process, we are here telling you that it should not be on the beach. It's too large of a pipe, it's too much of flow, and again, you cannot count on both pipes standing alone next to each other and not having the same difficulty. You could have an earthquake, it's going to strike them both. And yes, very good points earlier today about how it's probably going to affect the pipe that's a couple of blocks inland. But again, you have an opportunity of containment. This is a large flow coming through here. It's not a trickle.
And of the 3 routes, you definitely say no on the beach. Do you have an opinion about either of the other 2 routes that were discussed?
Absolutely not.
No. But definitely the beach is a non-starter.
That's correct.
Okay. Thank you very much for your comments, Tracy. Joel?
Good afternoon.
Hansen, Santa Monica Bay Restoration.
My name is Joel Hansen. I've been with the Santa Monica Bay Restoration Commission for 8 years, and the commission itself is a national estuary program that has been working to restore the resources of Santa Monica Bay since 1994. I'm reading a prepared statement today. We are very concerned about beach water quality and public health in Santa Monica Bay. We funded and participated in the original epidemiological study in the Bay, and we continue to work closely with the city by providing funds and expertise for numerous projects to improve water quality in LA. I'm speaking today on behalf of Dr. Shelley Luce, our executive director, who is out of town this week, but who is very concerned about this issue and wanted to be sure that this committee hears from the SMBRC on this issue. The city must act to install backup capacity for the Venice sewage main, and we support the proactive stance the city is taking in order to prevent the public health disaster that would result from a failure of the existing line. The main concern we have is that the new sewage line should not be placed along the beach. It does not make sense to place the new line along the same route as the existing line, because the new line would then be subject to the same potential risks as the existing line. For example, sea level rise is one factor that may eventually interfere with the functioning of the existing sewer line and of the new line if it is placed along the beach. Furthermore, if one line failed, it would likely impact the other line. Thus, placing them together almost defeats the purpose of the project altogether. In order to provide backup capacity for the existing line, the new line should be placed along a different alignment. A break in a sewer line of this size would be a public health disaster. It would release thousands of gallons of raw sewage and be very difficult to get under control because of the volume and pressure of the flow in the existing pipe. We urge the city to place the new pipe along a separate alignment from the existing pipe and as far from the beach and other waterways as possible. Thank you.
When you say as far from the beach as possible, does that suggest the option that was recommended by city staff, which is further away than the other one is?
Well, I'm reading a prepared statement today. From the statement, I would agree that it would be the one furthest from the beach.
What is your sensing? I've heard your colleagues speak about how the Coastal Commission and the Conservation Land thing, how would these groups respond to this? Would they feel, what would be their logic or reasons? I have not heard from these 2 groups, so I don't know.
I would ask that more questions be asked to Dr. Shelley Luce on this. She has more expertise than I do.
She's the earthquake.
She's the executive director of the Santa Monica Bay Restoration Commission.
I see.
And from my knowledge, it's just as far away from the beach and other waterways as possible.
Okay, thank you so much for your comments. Appreciate it. Tom Ford.
Tom Ford, Executive Director, Santa Monica Baykeeper. Certainly a number of things have been brought up today. Our concern, being folks that are very engaged in sewerage issues here in in town is that the Bureau of Sanitation has done a very laudable job, knocked down sewage spills or overflows by 71% over the past 3 years. This 30 million gallon a day delivery through this existing pipe that's been in the ground since 1958 is obviously the weakest link in the chain at this point in time, and its proximity to the beach and to Marina del Rey are of tremendous concern. The co-location issue from our standpoint and from the folks that I work with is that if we have two of those pipes laying next to one another and one of them fails, the 30 million gallons a day, or let's just say 15 million gallons a day if it was half the flow, would erode all the sand around it, and then you'd end up with those two pipes collapsing arguably underneath their own weight. And there's really no way to stop that flow according to the reports that we've read. And as much as I am empathetic to the members in the community, the least terns are an endangered species. We've got that little section on the beach for their protection so that someday we may be able to resuscitate that population of animals off of our coast, all of which are very important. And that, I think, more or less sums it up.
What is your sensing of those two other governmental quasi-bodies, the Coastal Commission and the other, how they would respond to this?
I would think that the statements that were made by Jim are accurate, that the Coastal Commission is going to be disinterested in building on the beach. And the other thing one of the gentlemen spoke to was the erosion and accretion going on. We certainly see accretion happening north of the channel, but erosion south of the channel. So this, again, if we ran a second pipe, that portion of it that ran down Dockweiler arguably might be in harm's way within its working life frame.
Thank you very much for your comments. We have three other folks, one from the LAPD, one from LADOT, Department of Transportation, and one from Metro. So come on up, Arthur Henry, come on up, Mo, and come on up, Lieutenant Edgar Palmer. We have another card? Give it to yeah, you're welcome. Aaron Clark, is that you, Aaron Clark? Okay, all right, good, thank you. Is this for or against or just general comments? General. Okay, great, okay, fine. Okay, you're up, Mo.
Okay, actually I'm here to talk about the route that we haven't talked about, Pacific Avenue.
Yes.
As far as, I've been a district engineer going back 10 years, so I'm very familiar with Pacific Avenue. And that should be the least favored route because it's a very narrow street. It's only 40 feet wide, one lane of traffic in each direction. So if they're going to take that route, they have to shut that street completely if they want to use Pacific Avenue.
You say Pacific just isn't
It doesn't work, yeah. But there's a transit route on that street, and also there's a elementary school on Pacific just south of Washington, and the LAUSC buses coming down on Via Marina do a loop and go up on Pacific to stage on the east side of Pacific Avenue. If you shut it down, they can't do that. So I just wanted to say that they should look at the other two routes and not the Pacific.
And when you look at the other two options, forgetting the environmental issues, that's not appropriate for me to put that on you. Does the other one seem less of a congested route as a transportation expert?
Well, the Via Marina, as far as I'm concerned, I think the BOE says that they can maintain one lane of traffic in each direction. If they do that. So that's, as far as I'm concerned, right. So they can maintain the route. I can't speak about the beach route. I'm not an expert in that.
What about some of the constituents here that showed us those photos that butts up right against?
Right. Well, I have to look at the actual alignment of the line on Via Marina to make an expert decision. But as far as Pacific Avenue, I can tell you that they have to completely shut down that street.
All right, thank you very much, Mo. Appreciate your tremendous professionalism in the department for all of us in the city. Thank you. Okay, Arthur.
Good afternoon, Councilmember Rosendahl. Arthur Henry, Metro. We have a bus line that runs in the area, line 108, which runs a loop. A one-way loop comes down from Admiralty Way south on Via Marina and then goes back north on Pacific up to Washington Boulevard and then right. BOE staff and the city gave us the opportunity to look, Metro staff, operations folks, a chance to look at the drawings. Our assessment is that just looking at no other factors except just transportation during the construction phase, obviously a route construction on the beach would have no impact on our bus service during construction. Via Marina, as Mo said, is 4-lane down to 2. Metro operations staff feel we could operate on that street during construction. Unfortunately, though, the other route on Pacific, the road is narrow. We'd be unable to operate on that route, would not be able to serve that loop during construction.
How many folks are in the Metro, bus system on either of those two streets?
Actually, we have 150 passengers a day in that loop, that border a light during that loop.
I see. And of the two, is there more on the Marina or the Pacific?
Councilmember, I did have the list by stop. I did not bring it with me, but it's a one-way loop, so we have to go in and go either one way or the other. We have to go through it.
So your bottom line is Pacific just doesn't work.
Yeah, the Pacific. Yeah, we would not be able to serve the loop at all during construction with our buses.
Thank you for that, and appreciate you staying here and putting it on the record.
You're welcome, sir.
Okay, Lieutenant.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening. Give your name for the record.
Lieutenant Edgar Palmer, Pacific Division. And I agree with the other two gentlemen. From a public safety standpoint, Pacific, we wouldn't be able to get to Venice Beach. And Venice Beach being as attended as it is, that would create a huge public safety issue. So from our standpoint, shutting Pacific down it simply wouldn't work at all.
This wouldn't work well. What that does for a guy like me, unfortunately, my job is safety is number one issue. So if you're telling me as our policing force, Pacific just doesn't work from a safety standpoint,
it doesn't.
It becomes rather compelling. That's your job, is to let us know. And that is because it's clogged and you can't move around?
Right. Even without having any streets blocked, as you well know, during the summer or when the weather gets hot, getting to Venice Beach, even in those times without a street closure, is very difficult for us. But I can't even imagine what it would be like.
What's your take about the Marina Del Rey area there, and how would the county sheriffs feel about that? Your understanding?
My general thought, and I certainly wouldn't presume to speak for them, but as long as
you would for the city part, because the lady and the gentleman are from the city of Los Angeles, so you know
absolutely,
that part.
Absolutely. A lane of traffic. I understand there are street closures, but a lane of traffic where it allows ingress and egress would be something that I would think would be favorable.
So even though my constituents from the LA City part make their point, from a safety standpoint, just versing those two streets, you're obviously going to comment on the beach. You just can see theirs feasible, but not Pacific.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much.
Okay.
So, thank you very much for being here as long as you have. Aaron Clark from Armbruster and Goldsmith. What's that? Law firm. Okay.
Yes, sir. Thank you. I'd just like to reiterate some of the comments that, not repeat, but just kind of reemphasize some of the comments from the marina proponents. I represent a number of Marina Del Rey developers, several which have projects fronting via Marina, so understandably concerned about that alignment. Also recognize that this is a critically important public works project. I think that's important to recognize. However, if you're talking about expediency and trying to get this in the ground as soon as possible opportunity, it's probably, from what I've heard, the beach alignment would be preferable, because the county, I know, I was at that board meeting. There is serious concern, as you heard from the county, about the alignment from the political establishment. And so, as you mentioned, I hope you can work together with the county, which I know the city will, to try to find a mutually acceptable solution. And that's really all I had. Thank you very much.
Appreciate that. I mean, my obvious challenge is when Tracy speaks with the authority of the state government and the federal government, with just a tremendous articulation about why the beach route doesn't work. That is obviously a major element that comes from a person within that professional realm, and also the other people who comment on it. So we're in a tough spot. Where do we go from here? Please.
Thank you, Councilman. Again, for Westhoff.
Yeah.
Public Works General Counsel for the city. I just want to put a little perspective.
Please do.
Historically, I can tell you, having been the General Counsel for Public Works since 1980, the single largest sewer spill in the history of the city occurred at the Venice pump plant in approximately 1987. So and you're dealing with, in this instance, it's not, most of our sewers are gravity fed. In other words, whatever a person puts in the fight, we allow gravity to take it. This is a pumped sewer, which means the wastewater is coming 24/7 all the time. There's no diurnal flow. That pipe is full the entire amount of time. So if that pipe breaks, there's no stopping the pumps behind it because there's sewage coming down the pipes from other pipes that has to go somewhere. And I understand that this issue about a tsunami is obviously one that is tenuous at best in terms of when was the last time we had one here. But I will tell you, putting those pipes next door to one another, right next to each other on the beach, if one of those pipes blows, because it's under pressure, it's going to undermine and take the other pipe with it. And that, I think, is probably the more realistic standpoint of why we are looking for redundancy above and beyond. And obviously, the Clean Water Act allows for a very large fine for a very large sewer spill, and what they look at in assessing whether or not they're going to try and seek either an administrative penalty or a lawsuit against the city of Los Angeles is what has the city done to mitigate the problem. And in this particular instance, we're looking at a project that's been on the books for almost 20 years. Again, we were talking about another needed force main from the Venice pump plant in the late 1980s. So we're looking almost 20 years that this project has been discussed and talked about, and Mr. Doty, was obviously serious about the fact that he's been working on this project for almost a decade himself. So, we're talking about a project that is necessary. The alignment, again, what EIRs are for, and you're asking where do you go from here? Well, you can obviously, because we are lacking a quorum, you can't make a recommendation to the full city council. You can continue the matter. Again, what EIRs are supposed to do is provide the decision maker with facts. Those facts are laid out in the three alternatives. The EIR itself makes no recommendation on a preferred alternative. That is left to the decision maker. Staff, after reviewing what the facts were in the EIR, have come before you and made a recommendation from their point of view, not from the EIR's point of view, but from their point of view. Yep. Again, it is up to the decision maker to accept that alternative or to look at all of the facts in front of it and make a determination as what, in your best judgment, collectively as a city council, is the best alignment for this.
Okay.
Whether you reopen the EIR or not is certainly within your purview discretion. We did that in the Jeebus case, the Glendale Burbank sewer, and even though we reopened it for further comment, we still got sued by the city of Burbank even after we reopened it for the comment. In other words, they commented before, they reopened, they commented during the comment period, and they still sued us.
Then what happened with the suit?
We're still in the middle of that lawsuit. The project has been stalled by virtue of that. But again, regardless of the alignment in this particular instance, I'm not sure that there's any more or less opportunity for us to get sued over the decision and over the adequacy of the EIR. The lawsuit in that instance will be whether or not the EIR adequately describes the potential environmental impacts that you then get to make a decision on whether you want to override those considerations by a statement of overriding considerations. It is not based on how many people are for or against a particular alignment.
This, yesterday, the 18th of November 2008, county supervisors unanimously said, don't go that route. From a legal perspective, does this automatically put us in a jeopardized position with that route or not?
No.
I mean, does our council react to that? Do you react to it, or we just go through our process and see what the next step is?
Look, I'm
thinking of Burbank when you said
sure. And again, I've been in the sewer business now for over a quarter of a century.
Don't fall in it.
Well, I've been down in sewers and certainly at the treatment plant a lot. No jurisdiction, political jurisdiction, if they respond to their constituents. If their constituents say we don't want it, they're not going to override that if they can push it off on someone else. This force main is going to serve the residents of the county of Los Angeles as much, if not more, than the city, because all of the wastewater that is generated in the unincorporated area goes to the Hyperion treatment plant and is treated there. And if that now the single force main, or if we were to build a dual one, blows along that beach area, guess what? It's not going to be the county of Los Angeles that pays that fine. It's going to be the city of Los Angeles that pays that fine. And so those, I would expect the county to take the action that they took yesterday, just like it wasn't a surprise that Burbank chose to take the action that they took on the GBIS alignment, even though that line is being put in to specifically carry Burbank's wastewater to the city's collection system and ultimate treatment. It's unfortunately the way things. It's NIMBY. I mean, it is nothing more than NIMBY.
We make a hypothetical. The council acts, and we go forward whatever route we decide.
Correct.
Right? A jurisdiction tries to stop it, like Burbank did. If there is a rupture during that period, and we in good faith wanted to move in a certain direction, does that lessen our liability or not?
It doesn't lessen our liability. It might give us a position to argue for a reduced fine or some other alternative to a fine. But if that line blows at any time before we have got the other line installed, trust me that I believe that the regulators will, take what they believe to be the appropriate action, and we will obviously defend the city to the best of our ability in terms of trying to mitigate whatever harm is caused. But again, if that line blows as a pumped force main, we can't stop it. It's under pressure.
The first speaker speaking for the state and federal government said we're looking at $400 million worth of fines.
That's probably an upper limit. I doubt if we would do that unless they could demonstrate that we were acting either negligently or intentionally to avoid our responsibility in this situation. Again, it's pick your poison in terms of the alignment. Each alignment carries with it risks. I think Councilmember Alarcon, certainly hit the nail on the head. And again, the Coastal Commission may not give us a permit for the beach route, even if that's where the council decides to go. So there are risks in every single one of those, and it's fortunately or unfortunately the elected officials in this city that have to decide what is in the best interest of everybody, looking at all of the facts that are before you and taking into account environmental impacts.
Okay, got you, Chris. And that was 1980 when you joined the
1980.
And this thing started in 1958, and you've been at it since when?
I'm sure.
You want to come up for some final comment? Anybody else want to come up and make any final comment? No, just from the city standpoint. Why don't you come up and make a final comment and give me a sense of time frame that you find making sense at this point. I wanted to have an open hearing. I didn't even play the clock on anybody. I let everybody express themselves with candor and as much time as they wanted. I've now instructed you to meet with some of these groups and see what more awareness and outreach can be accomplished. So we've done the ultimate, even listening to people today, and gone another step further. And let's take time to do that so we can feel comfortable that no stone has been left unturned in public awareness, okay? All right, what would you then want to see us do next at this point in time?
Well, the next step would be to respond to the environmental comments made to the committee, and then take it on to the full council for a decision. Just as a point of information, the reasons for recirculating an EIR would be if new information, significant new information, was brought forward that was not treated in the draft EIR. In the outreach that we have done in the past, 11 months, one issue has come up that is sort of right on, and that is the age of the related projects list. The one gentleman came and said, it's a very old list. We have gone to a new related projects list that is reported in your in the letter that the city engineer wrote to the committee, and we've done that reevaluation, and it did not change the conclusions of the EIR. Therefore, technically, there is not a reason to reopen the public comment period. However, as I stated before, the EIR has not been certified, and these are all public hearings. We are doing outreach. We are listening to the public, and we will address their concerns all the way through this project.
I appreciate your leadership and your professionalism. There's no other potential route that you see that could be put into play. This, after all the years you've been working on it, there's not a fourth option.
There is not a fourth option.
Okay. And the environmental community's concern about the beach, you will work that into a response mode and put it in some addendum as we go forward with this, so that that's clear.
Yes.
So we can leave the record open, and we could have a concluding, and I would love to have my two colleagues here for the final meeting, which I think we will schedule for the, 22nd of January? Would that make sense?
We can
December
continue.
3rd.
21st.
December.
21st.
Or December.
December 3rd.
Or December 3rd.
Or what?
December.
December what?
3rd.
3rd.
Oh, December 3rd. Would you prefer December 3rd and work those issues out, or do you want to go to January?
We're very concerned about urgency on this project. We'd like to go as fast as we can.
Okay, so then we'll go December 3rd.
Very good.
Okay, does everybody agree with that? Chris?
Again, it's...
I want to be open and fair, transparent, and absolutely clear with everybody.
Correct, and
serious issue.
Staff, I believe, does, for a municipal entity, the public works bends over backwards for public outreach. Whether or not people responded to the initial outreach or not, I believe that engineering can respond within the next couple of weeks to address those concerns.
All right. Any other comments? Okay, so that I will direct this to be back on the agenda on December the 3rd. And we'll go from there at that point. And I would like us to make an effort to see that my two colleagues are there as well, so that they can do any follow-up questions. And if anybody from the public wants to come back, I urge you to come back. Between now and then, I want to see a smile on her face that you've done good outreach in the neighborhood there, and on his face too, so that the community knows what we're dealing with. But this is a situation that there aren't winners in this. There's no winners in this. There's one winner, and that's getting that sewer system built, so that the 50 years we've been through this isn't continued much longer. Okay? All right. Any other public comment? Anything else? Okay. Meeting's adjourned. Thank you.